Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Nasir Soft. This is the web developing with PHP and MySQL tutorial series, and in this video we will talk about the forms. So the outlines of this tutorial are HTML forms, then we will talk about the HTML input attributes, HTML form attributes, PHP forms methods, form validations, form submit, working on jQuery and JavaScript, and at last we will work on the selector, and on the base of the selector we change the value of the input field. Okay, so we will learn all these topic in this video. So first we will talk about what is HTML forms. So HTML forms are just like, for example, if you visit some site, okay, that requires some registration, then you see that it required the first name, last name, and so on, all in input fields, and this is called the HTML form. Okay, so the HTML has a body. Okay, inside the body, the form tag. Okay, this is start and this is action, and these all are, this is action method and the name. Okay, and this is the text that you see that shows in rectangular. Okay, and the email and so on. So basically these all are the HTML forms attributes. So for example, this is the name. Okay, and this is text, so therefore this is showing that, and the email, then an email has a type of text also in this scenario, and a button that is submit. Okay, so add back, basically against this, if I say that this is a picture, so this form of code is written. Okay, so this is the HTML forms. We will see in more detail in next slides. So what are the HTML forms elements? Input. Okay, and input has various type. Okay, in the previous slide you see that the input type is text. Okay, so we can change it. For example, if we see the input and input type is button, then button will show, and checkbox, then a checkbox is show with, when you click on that, then a tick cross or check is checked or not. Okay, so the type color, type date, date time local, email. Email is used for validation of email. Okay, type file, type hidden, type image, type month, type number. So these all are the input types that can be used in HTML forms. Okay, so HTML input attributes. The input value attribute specified an initial value for an input field. Okay, so inside the input there is a value attribute. This is specified the initial value for an input field. Initial value, for example, this is a form. Okay, and it has a label that is first name, and after that label there is a text field of input field. Okay, and its initial value is John. Okay, so another that is last name label, and its initial value is DOE. Okay, so this is the value attribute specified the initial value. Okay, so if I say in more detail, this is the text field. Okay, its ID is last name L name, and its name is also L name. Okay, and its initial value is DOE. So what are the read only attributes? As name specify that it is used for only read purpose. We cannot write when the attributes read only is defined of an input field. Okay, so a read only input field cannot be modified. However, a user can tap to it, highlight it, and copy the text from it, but not write that input field. Therefore it is we declare it a read only. The value of a read only input field will be sent when submitting the form. So this is a form. Okay, and so when we want read only an attribute, then we just write the read only at the last of the input field. Okay, then the field becomes read only. Okay, and we cannot write anything inside it. So let's see it practically. So this is the basic form.php file. Okay, so I just create a PHP file and paste inside the HTML code in it, and this is the form tag, that is starting tag, and that is ending tag. Okay, and this is action method, we will see it later. Okay, let's see. The form has one name field, okay, and the type is text, and this one an email, phone number, date. The output of this code is like this thing. This is the name field, email field, phone number, date, and so on. Okay, and you'll see that here inside the name I write Nasir Soft. Email, here is the email, for example this one. Phone number is number. Okay, we cannot write here character, so the type is number, so it only accept the number. Okay, and the date, so on. So when I want, then the name field should be read only, not we can write anything inside it. Okay, so I go to the code, and here inside the name at the last, here I just write the read only. Okay, and this one. When I save the file and go to the browser and refresh the link, you will see that now here I want to write something, but it doesn't allow me to write anything. Basically this is the read only field. So inside the email I can write, inside the phone number I can write, but in name it didn't allow me to write anything. Okay, so this is the purpose of read only. Okay, and the read only, when we submit the form, then the read only is showing inside the submit or action. Okay, the disabled attribute. This attribute specifies that an input field should be disabled. A disabled input field is unusable and unclickable. Okay, and when we submit the form, then the disabled attribute is not posted or through is not be action. Okay, whether the method we use, the get or post, then this attribute is not posted. Okay, so the value of a disabled input field will not be sent when submitting the form, and the syntax is very simple. For example, this is this form, and inside the first element, that is name, we just write the disabled keyword. Okay, if I go to the, and here just at the place of read only, here I write disabled. Okay, and yeah, this one. When I save the file, go to the browser and refresh the link, and you will see that it disabled. Okay, the name attribute. Let's move to the next topic, the size attribute. This attribute specifies this visible width in character of an input field. Okay, if we want the input field more width, okay, or large, then we use the size attribute. Default value of size is 20. For example, this is the form, and inside this one I just place the size attribute and name it 50 value. Okay, so it make the input field of size 50. Okay, so now let's see it in code. Okay, so this is my code, and here I remove the disabled and write here size, and inside the size I pass 100. Okay, so now you will see that the input of name field becomes larger. Okay, if I go to the code and refresh the link, you will see that the input field is too large now as compared to this one. Okay, so the size attribute basically increase or decreases the input type field. Okay, so now let's see to the next topic, the minimum and maximum attribute. As its name indicate that they specify the minimum and maximum values from an input field. Minimum and maximum attributes work with the following input types, that is number, range, date time, local, month, time, and week. Okay, use the max and min attributes together to create a range of a legal value. For example, this is the form. Okay, inside the form, this is the input type date, and it has a value, that is maximum value. The date should be maximum. We can select the maximum date 1970, 12 month 31. okay, and the minimum we can also specify its minimum value. Okay, so now let's see. First we create a date input type, okay, and then we define its limit according to the maximum and minimum. So this is the code, and here I declare the date input type, that is date, okay, and its name is date, and here I just mention its minimum value and maximum value. Okay, so before to input it a minimum and maximum value, I just save the file and go to the browser and refresh the link. Okay, you will see that here inside the date, when I click on this down arrow icon, then the calendar open and all dates are open. I can select any date on them. Okay, there is no limit defined. Okay, when I go to the code and define the limit, then inside the minimum here I just define the first the year, okay, then month is, for example, I can start it from the January 18, okay, and the maximum limit is 2020, 11 month and 27 date. Okay, so I defined the limit. Then we can select a date from 18 January 2020 to 27 November 2020. If I save the file, go to the browser and refresh the link, now you will see that if I click on the down arrow, so here the date start from the here, okay, 27th November. I cannot select the 28 November. So basically I restrict the maximum value to 27 November, or the minimum value to, okay, there is a problem in minimum value. If I again go to the code, okay, this is, if I here 0 place 01 and save the file, go to the browser and refresh the link, now you will see that it started from the January 18. Okay, so it's worked perfectly. So the minimum value is set 18 and the maximum value is set it to 27th of November. Okay, I cannot select anything like after the 27 November, like 28, 29. Okay, so we just limit the date according to selection. So this is can be done by minimum and maximum attribute in HTML. So now let's see to the next slide. The placeholder attribute. The input placeholder attribute specifies short a hint that describe the expected value of an input field, a simple value or a short description of an expected format. Okay, so in this form, the placeholder attributes is used, and inside the placeholder we can write anything. Okay, that is just as an show about the description of the input field. Okay, in my code, if I declare the placeholder to the name field, okay, so now we check how we can do it. So this is the input field, that is name, okay, and here after the size I declare a placeholder. Okay, inside the placeholder I write something meaningful, that is enter your name here. Okay, if I save the file and go to the browser and refresh the link, now you will see that the placeholder is showing inside the name field, and here I can name it everything, but by default it's showing me the meaningful metadata, basically information about the field. So we can write anything that we want to guide the user in placeholder. So let's move to the next slide. The pattern attribute. It specifies a regular expression that the input field value is checked against when the form is submitted. Okay, the pattern attributes work with the following input type, that is text, date, search, URL, tell, email, and password. So in this form, okay, here this is an input type text, okay, and here inside the pattern attribute I define the regular expression that this pattern should be contain any capital letter from A to Z or small letter from A to Z and with the length of 3. So if I here I write anything, okay, that is for example something digit like or greater than the length of 3, then it shows me the error. Okay, so now let's see the pattern attribute in code. This is the code, and here I just declare a new attribute, name it pattern, that is in label, and here declare an input type, for example that is text, and the pattern that is equal to regular expression inside the braces, and it contain all the characters from capital A to capital Z, or it contains the small letter as well, small a to Z, and the length of the overall pattern should be 3. Okay, for example here this is country code. So user can enter only the 3 length of character. Okay, if I save the file, go to the browser and refresh the link. Here you see that a new field is added, that is country code, and here by default if I write it something digits, okay, and here when I submit, then it shows me the error, please match the requested format, and the format is of 3 digit and only character allow. Okay, here if I pass the 3 digit, then it shows me again the error message, that is please match the requested format. Okay, so it we can only write the 3 character here. Okay, so I just write the 3 character, that is for example AFG. When I submit, then it, okay, this match requested format. In our code this is not a space, so here just remove the space and save the file, go to your browser and refresh the link. Now it works perfectly. Okay, here if I just pass the 3 letter and submit, then the form is submitted. Okay, not basically not give me the error. Okay, and here if I just allow 2 character, then it shows me the error. Okay, we can also specify the meaningful message title. Okay, so if I go to the code and here inside the title tag I just mention your country code is not correct. So this is the meaningful message. Save the file, go to your browser and refresh the link. Okay, so if I mismatch the condition, submit the form, then it shows me the please match the requested format, your country code is not correct. So hope you will understand. So now let's move to the next slide. The required attribute. The required attribute specifies that an input field must be filled out before submitting the form. Okay, so it will not allow an empty field. If we want some field of the form should be filled before the submission occur, so then we just named, okay, or add the required attribute of this field. Okay, just like that the read only attribute. So we can write the required at the end of that input field. This attributes works with the following input types, that is text, search, URL, tell, email, password, date picker, number, checkbox, radio, and file. So this is the form, and inside this one I just declare an field, that is text field. Okay, I named it username, and at the last I just add the required keyword. Okay, so now if I submit the form before filling that field, it shows me the error. So this field should be anything, user should be write anything inside that field before submitting the form. So now let's see it practically. In my this code, okay, I just placed inside the input name field at the end required. Okay, if I save the file, go to the browser, refresh the link, and if I submit the, then it shows me that this field should is required. So if I again submit, just pressing the submit by does not write anything inside the name field, then it shows me the error that name field should be contain something, some inputs. For example, if I nn write here, then it shows the form is submitted. Okay, so hope you will understand. The height and width attribute. This specifies the height and width of the input type, okay, image attribute. For example, if we want some image or to upload some image and show it with a specific height and width inside, okay, then we use the height and width attribute. This syntax is very simple. For example, this is an image source, and here the width is 48 pixel and height is 48. Okay, so it shows inside this square the image that we upload. Okay, so hope you will understand. The form action attribute. This attribute specifies the URL of the file that will process the input when the form is submitted. So inside the action attribute, we write the URL, okay, on which we want to submit a form. This is very simple. This attributes overrides the action attributes of the form element. This is the form body, and inside the form start, here the keyword is action, and inside the action we write the URL. For example, if I submit this form, then the form is submit to the action page.php file. Okay, so here we can write the URL. I will show you all these practically, okay, when we read the method as well. So now let's see the what is the form method attribute. The input form method attribute defines the HTTP method for sending form data to the action URL. Okay, so inside the method attribute, we define whether this attribute override the method or attribute of the form element. The form action attributes works with the following input types: submit an image. Okay, so the form data can be sent as URL variables. If we use the method get, if we use the get method, then the all the form data is visible in the URL. Okay, and that is the threat as compare if we talk about with respect to the security. Okay, if we use the post method, then inside the URL the form data is not visible. So this is the most secure way to deal with the form. You should use the method of post instead of get. So what is the get method and post method? So first, notes on the get method. Okay, this method appends the form data to the URL in name value pairs. I will show you later. Then when we submit the form through get method, then the all the form data, that is for example in our form, that is name attribute, email, and so on, all the user defined uh, data is mentioned in the URL. So therefore, please do not use the get method when you want to post the username or password or something like very sensitive data. Okay, so when we deal this with this sensitive data, then you should prefer the post over the to get method. This method is useful for the form submission where a user went a bookmark the result. Okay, so if you want, when we submit the form and to bookmark it in your browser, okay, so basically then you will prefer to use the get method. Basically it all the data form data is showing in the URL. Then when we bookmark and later when we open that bookmark, then it on the base of the all the data of the form, then all the HTML code will show in. Okay, There is a limit to how much data you can place in a URL, varies between the browsers. Therefore, you cannot be sure that all of the form data will be correctly transferred when we're using the get method. Never use the get method to pass sensitive information. Password or other sensitive information will be visible in the browser address bar. So therefore, when we deal with the sensitive data, you should use the post, okay, instead of the get post method. This method sends the form data as an HTTP post transaction. Form submission with the post method cannot be bookmarked. Basically, it is secure. The post method is more robust and secure than get, and post does not have size limitation. Get versus post. Both get and post create an array. Okay, if I just echo or print r or var dump the s post array, okay, s post global super global variable, then it shows me the array. Okay, for example, its key and value and second key and value and something like this. Array holds key value pairs where keys are the names of the form controls and the values are the name data from the user. I will show it later when we deal with the form and post a form practically. Both get and post create an array. Okay, this is holds key as a value where keys are the names of the form control and values, and this is repeated. Okay, dollar sign underscore get is an array of variable passed to the current script via the URL parameters. S post is an array of variable passed to the current script via the HTTP post method. Must use post for sensitive data. Get have limitation of 2000 character. Okay, when you will use the get in form method, then you have the limitation of 2000 characters. Okay, where post does not have any limitation. So now let's see the get post method and the form action or submit the form practically. So this is my form. Okay, and the file is form.php that is inside my the htdocs. Okay, here I submit the form. I use the method post, and inside the action I just write the URL of this form. Okay, so this is self-rendering form. So I submit the form in the same page, or you can also submit the form in another PHP file. Okay, so first I submit the form, and inside the action I just call the same URL, that is form.php. Okay, so here I submit the form, and I submit, I press on the submit button, then again this page loads with the form data. Okay, so at the top of the file here I write the PHP code inside the PHP tags. Here basically the method is post. So first I get the all the values, for example the array that is posted, all the element inside the post. Okay, and inside the s post here the name of the first name field, that is name. So I get the name here and save the result inside a new PHP variable that is, for example, user underscore name. Okay, similar I copy all these line and paste here, and the second is email and the name is email. So I just, through the name that is email, I catch the second post when form is submitted in the user email variable. I just declare a new variable that is user email, and similar process goes for the next form field get method. Okay, so this is phone number, its name is phone. So through phone here I catch the phone and save it inside the user phone variable. Okay, and Similar. Next one is date. I name it user date, and the name is date. Here I cache the date, and final the use code, the country code, and the name of the country code is doesn't mention, so here I first declare the name, that is country code. Just copy this one, and the inside the post array the key is country code. In your code just remove the exit, okay, and at the start of the PHP script basically the notices are showing, so to hide the noticing, write the error reporting and pass the with zero parameter, so not showing me the error, that is notices. For example, in this scenario I save the file, go to the browser, and if I refresh the link, then you will see that, so the all the form elements are showing, okay. Inside the name I write Nasir soft, inside the email is this one, phone number is this, for example date is this, country code is PKR. For example, if I submit, then you will see that at the top Nasir soft is showing me the value of the name field that user enter. So here if I go to the code, and I only execute the username, so therefore it's showing me, it shows me the Nasir soft, okay. So it means that this form is successfully submitted through the post method, okay. And you will see if I go to the code, inside the URL nothing is showing, okay. So basically it not append anything in the URL, okay. If I go to the code and just here I at the place of the post I write it get method, okay. If I save the file, go to the browser and refresh the link, then now I am trying to submit this form through get method. Inside the name I write, for example, welcome. Inside the email is this one, phone is this one, date is this, and the country code is PKR. If I submit the form through the get method, okay, so now I enter the submit button, and you see that when I use the get method, then it append all the name, that is welcome, email, all the information that user enter in the URL. So therefore it is not secure, okay. So therefore you should not use the get method when you will deal with the sensitive data. So this all or how the form submit and method works. So hope you will understand. So now let's see the next slide. Form validation. Validation means check the input submitted by the user. There are two types of validation are available in PHP. They are as follows. Client side validation. The client side validation is performed on the client matching web browser, and another is server side validation. After submission by data, okay, when we submit the form, the data has sent to the server, for example in PHP, and perform validation checks in server machine. So there are rules for the validation. For example, the name validation require only certain letters and white spaces. Email require must contain a valid email address with @ and dot. Website optional, if present it must contain a valid URL. Comment optional, multi-line input field text area, and gender required must select one, okay. So what is a server PHP self variable? So this is the server global variable, PHP global variable, okay. And PHP self is a super global variable that returns the file name of the currently executing script. So if we echo the S server PHP self, okay, then it shows us the current file name that execute. So the S server PHP self sends the submitted form data to the page itself instead of jumping to a different page. Okay, if we write it in action of the form, this way the user will get error message on the same page as the form. Okay, so you will understand this sentence, okay, after some time when I implement in it in code. Okay, so what is the HTML special characters? The HTML special characters function converts special characters to HTML entities. This means that it will replace HTML character like less than, greater than, will, or alt, lt, and and gt. Okay, this is and. This prevents attackers from exploiting the code by injecting HTML or JavaScript code, that is cross-site scripting attacks in forms. Okay, so to prevent cross-site scripting attacks, we will use the HTML special characters function. So big note on PHP form security. The S server PHP self variable can be used by hackers. If PHP self is used in your page, then a user can enter a slash, okay, forward slash, and then some cross-site scripting XSS commands to execute. Okay, so cross-site scripting is a type of computer security vulnerability typically found in web applications. XSS enable the attackers to inject client-side script into web pages viewed by other users. Assume we have the following form in a page named testform.php. Okay, so far so good. Okay, if we talk about this, this is the form tag and the method is post action. Inside the action we echo PHP self. Okay, so it means that inside the action there is a file name of the same executing script. For example, the file is test form.php. So inside this one action, the test form.php will mention as the S server PHP self echoed the current scripting file. Okay, so far so good. Now, if a user enters the normal URL in the address bar like the domain name and the file name, okay, for example, in our scenario localhost and testform.php, okay, so in action basically the S server gives me the output, that is testform.php. So far so good. However, consider that a user enters the following URL in the address bar. Okay, so if the user enter the following URL in the browser, that is, okay, domain name, that is localhost, then the form name, and after that one this is like %2 %2, this is the attackers. For example, the user enter the following URL in the browser to attack or hack our server. Okay, so what it means, in this code the above code will be translated to, okay, this one, this is a script basically hacked. This code adds a script, so basically this is translated to the script of the JavaScript. This code adds a script tag and an alert command, and when the page loads, the JavaScript code will be executed. The user will see an alert box. This is just a simple and a harmless example how the PHP self variable can be exploited. Okay, so be aware of that any JavaScript code can be added inside the script tag. A hacker can redirect the user to a file on another server, and that file can hold malicious code that can alert the global variables or submit the form to another address to save the user data, for example, or to hack the user. So how we can avoid the PHP self variable, okay, or how we can secure the PHP self variable. Okay, so this is very simple. So to exploits can be avoided by using the HTML special characters function. The form code should be like this: inside the action there is an HTML special character function, and inside its parentheses the PHP self variable pass. Okay, the HTML special character function converts special characters to HTML entities. Now, if the user tries to exploit the PHP self variable, it will result the following output. Okay, so at the rate, so basically HTML special characters convert the HTML characters. So now the in URL this is like, for example, not in URL, this is in action, this is like and code and GT and LT and so on. So now user, the hacker is not able to hack over this code. Okay, so therefore there is an importance of HTML special character function. Okay, form validation. For example, we have a form that is registration form, and inside this one there is a name field, email field, time field, classes, and gender, and submit. Okay, user will, the client will able to submit the form. Okay, when user enter its name, email, time. So for example, we have implement here the form validation. Okay, in empty, one user click on the submit without filling of any of the field that is mandatory. Okay, so there should be an error displayed here that please fill the this field and so on. So this is called the form validation. Okay, so we have now we implement the server side form validation. Okay, so let's see it. So first we submit the form, and after submit form we check. Okay, on the basis of if else, we just mention several conditions. Okay, and based on that conditions we will show the error in the form. Okay, so for example, let's see it in code. So this is my form.php file. Okay, inside this one there is an HTML tag and the head. Inside the head, this is a CSS. I just mentioned the error. Okay, error class, and it have a color of this one, that is red one. Okay, and the inside the body there is a registration form. Okay, and the heading, and here I just mentioned a paragraph type, that is class error, and it required field. Okay, and inside the form I use the method post, and the inside the action is PHP self. Okay, so here write the HTML special characters, and inside this one just pass the PHP self variable as I mentioned. This is okay. So this is inside the HTML special characters, we pass the PHP self. Okay, and there is a table, and inside the first row a name field, and input type is text, its name is name, and a span. For just mentioned it is mandatory. Okay, and here inside this span, okay, if the variable of PHP variable contains any error, then I echo this one. Okay, I will explain it later. Similarly, another row, I mention an email field, and its type is text, and name is email, its type is also email. Okay, for example, and here the mandatory field, and I show error if any exists. Okay, similarly time, its class. Okay, and the time is text, and time and its error. Their classes, there is a text area, and the gender, there is a radio button. Okay, male and female, and its error, and the submit button, and its type is submit. Okay, so if I execute this code or show in your browser. Okay, so this is the form.php file, and here this is the registration form and the required field, and after the required field I just mentioned this static with the red sign that this field is mandatory. Okay, and this all are okay. So this is the name, this is the email field, this is the time, classes, and gender, and submit. Okay, so when I submit the button, so after that I check if the username or email, okay, is empty. Okay, or time or classes, if I want it to mandatory, so then show me the error that please fill this field. Okay, or this is the required field. For example, if I click on the submit button here, the name is required, the email is required, the gender is required. As I mentioned, three fields mandatory, so therefore it shows me the error that this field is required and user should enter something in this field. Okay, so how this program run, or what is the logic uh, uh, behind this code? So let's see it in code. As you see that this is the table and the form. Okay, the form, And when I submit the form at the start of this form.php file, here this is a php tag, okay, start and end, okay. So in this one, first I just mention the empty variables, that is name error, email error, gender error, and website error as an empty, okay. And similarly for name, email, gender, comment, website, empty initially, okay. Here I just check if the form is submit, or this line means that if the submit button is clicked, then perform these all actions, okay. So for first I check, is it in after the submission of the form I get the name variable that is posted by the form, okay. And I check if it is empty, it means that there is no data inside this one. Then I just inside I initialize the name error field, that name is required, okay. Or I assign the name error, that is the I just created the field against the error of the name field, okay. And I place the value that is name is required, okay. Else means that in user enters something inside the name, okay. So therefore whatever user enter, I just through the s post name, okay, I assign that to the name. And I just created a test input function, okay, that is here. And inside this function, whatever data is, for example in this scenario, first scenario, the data is the username, okay. I trim the data, it means that I strip unnecessary characters, that is extra space, tab, new line from the user input data. So this is the php function trim, and I pass this name, okay, through it and trim it and saved it inside the data. Or I just strip slashes, I call the strip slashes function, that is php built-in function, okay. And pass this name to it, or this means that to remove black slashes, okay, from the user backslashes from the user input data with the php strip slashes function. This is just for the data security, or to ensure that the correct data is entered, okay. And then these html special characters I call it, and the return the data, okay. So inside the name, whatever user enter comes in the name, okay. Similarly I same the process, I repeat the process with all the other fields to get the, if the empty is email, then show the error inside the email error, email is required. And if email is entered by the user, just initialize it or pass it to the email variable, okay. And here, okay, this is the filter var, this is for the regular expression, that is php built-in, okay, to check that whether the user enter correct email or not, okay. So I pass here filter validate email, that is built-in function, okay, that check that email is in the correct format or not, okay. If it's not, it means that user enter incorrect email. So therefore inside the email error I initialize that invalid email format, okay. So inside then email error contains the invalid email format error. Similar process for the website, okay. In this one the website is, okay, let's correct it. This is the time, its name is time, and the just replace this one here, this is time, okay. If it's empty, then there is no error, basically this is not a mandatory field, so therefore. And if user enters something in the time field, then I just name the time to website, okay. Then in on the user value, what user entered, okay, pass to the website. And similar process for the comment, okay. And similar for the gender, if user select if user not select the gender radio button, then show the error that gender is required. And okay, you will see that after that, okay, here when user submit the form, then all the variable contain some error or the value. And you see after the each, for example this is name field, here I show the name error, if it contains, then it show me the name error, or otherwise this is null. So okay, similarly after the field, we show the error if it contains, otherwise it show null, it means nothing will be displayed. Okay, and after the email field we display the email error if it contain, otherwise null will be showing. Okay, therefore nothing will be show. Okay, and similarly this error is showing after the time field. So by default when we refresh the URL, okay, if I go to the URL and by default I refresh the URL, you will see that nothing will be shown. Basically these error variables contain nothing, therefore we not able to see anything. Okay, when we submit, click on the submit, then the program flow goes to the upper PHP tag and gives the name field error, the name is required, email field error and email is required, and after executing the HTML then it display the error. Okay, so hope you will understand. Okay, for example, after that if again go to the code, at the last I here mention your given values are an echo name, email, website, comments. Okay, so for example, if I enter something in the name that is Nasir Soft, inside the email that is correct email. Okay, if you want to check the error, okay, for example, this is incorrect email. Inside the time, this is this one, classes, this is algorithm, for example, gender is male, and when I click on the submit, then you will see that it show me the error that there is an email format is not correct. Okay, so the correct email is this one, and now when I submit, all the form is submitted correctly and the value is showing here, and you can play with that value whether to insert it in the databases or showing inside another form. Okay, a field or so on. So this is the concept behind the this form, then how we can validate the form through server side, that is PHP. Hope you will understand. Regular expression in PHP. Regular expression are nothing more than a sequence or pattern of characters itself. They provide the foundation for pattern matching functionality. So this is very important for interview perspective if you apply for the PHP developer jobs. Okay, or it is very important to solve any particular problem. Okay, so regular expressions, if we talk about in PHP, so PHP has built-in functions that allow us to work with regular functions. Let's now look the community, the commonly used regular expression functions in PHP. So prig match. Prig match function is used to perform a pattern match on a string. It returns true if a match is found and false if a match is not found. Prig split. This is the second function that is used to perform a pattern match on a string and then split the result into a numeric array. Prig replace. This function is used to perform a pattern match on a string and then replace the match with the specified text. So prig match, if we talk about the prig match, okay, so this is the PHP code, and inside this one this is the my URL, and inside this one this is a string that is www.guru.com. okay, guru 99. So if prig match, okay, we pass the prig match inside the function, and the prig match has in this scenario two parameter. The first parameter, okay, is the pattern that we want to match, or the second parameter contains the whole uh, string, okay, in which we want to perform the matching. Okay, so if this is the starting, okay, between this one, this is the forward slash and forward slash, between this one we match the pattern that is guru. Okay, if guru occur inside this string, then show me the URL contains guru. Okay, and else may the URL does not contain guru. Okay, what is the output of the file? The output is the URL, and inside the my URL, okay, this one, my www.guru99.com contains guru. Okay, or you can find to visit this to check the more information about regular expression. So when we use the regular expression pattern, okay, inside the braces ABC, it means that matches any one of the characters A, B or C. Okay, and this this, that is this sign and ABC, it shows that matches any one character other than A, B or C. This is not okay. A to Z matches any one character from lower A to lower Z. Okay, inside the braces capital A to capital Z, it means that matches any one character from uppercase A to uppercase Z. Okay, it means matching any character from lower A to upper Z. And 0 to 9 means matching a single digit between 0 and 9, and A to Z and 0 to 9 means matches a single character between A and Z or between 0 and 9. So similarly, this table showing the more, that is dot means matches any single character except new line. Okay, backslash t means matches any digit character same as 0 to 9, and d means matches any non-digital character same as not, okay, 0 to 9. It means that 11 to 10, 11 to includes but not 0 to 9. It's the backslash s means matches any white space character, space tab, new line or carriage return characters same as, okay, t, n and r. Okay, and you can find the more help from this. Or to find in more detail about the regular expression, please visit this link, that is tutorialrepublic.com and so on, okay, to check the more about the regular expression. Validate name in PHP. The code below shows a simple way to check if the name field only contains letter and white spaces. If the value of the name field is not valid, then store an error message. Okay, so for example, I just stored the user, but what user entered the name in the name field and post, okay, and to store it inside the name, and inside the if I just call the prig match, okay, no, with not equal to sign, and this is the starting and this is the, okay, ending. Okay, so between this is the starting and this is the ending, and between the forward slash, okay, this is the pattern, that is A to Z and A to Z and repeat it, it means end space. Okay, so it means that any letter correct from small a or Z or capital A to Z and spaces. Okay, so letters and white spaces include. Okay, if it is not include, then show me the error. Okay, only letter and white spaces allowed. So this is how to validate a name in PHP. The prig match function searches a string for pattern, returning true if the pattern exists and false otherwise. Okay, so to validate email in PHP, the easiest and safest way to check whether an email address is well formed is to use PHP's filter var function. In this code below, if the email address is not well formed, then store an error message. Okay, so this is the email, okay, variable, and I pass it to the filter var, okay, inside the first parameter, and second parameter, this is a built-in function that is filter validate email. Okay, if it is not returns false, then it means that there is an invalid email. Okay, so this is the easiest way to validate the email in PHP through this function, that is filter validate email, to pass it inside the filter var. Hope you will understand. Validate URL in PHP. The code below shows a way to check if a URL address syntax is valid. This regular expression also allows dashes in the URL. If the URL address syntax is not valid, then store an error message. The website, okay, and what user entered inside the website field. Okay, this is the regular expression for to validate the website. Okay, and if the pattern not match, then show me the error. So now let's move. That's all for this tutorial. If you have any questions regarding to this topic, you can email me. Email is mentioned in video description, or you can write your question inside the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for more informative videos. Stay blessed. Have a nice day.